I'm going to be talking about the clinical trial that Hospice is doing at the moment in collaboration with Memory Lane Games, which is a local company on the island. And then I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to talk about our recruitment process and then talk about why we had some challenges while we were trying to recruit. So, to begin with, what is dementia? It's an umbrella term for a range of progressive conditions that result in decline of memory and cognitive function. There's around 200 plus dementia, different types of dementia at the moment, and there's probably a lot more. And approximately around 46 million people currently live with dementia worldwide, and that's more than the population of Spain. And this is estimated to increase to 131.5 million by 2050. So it's going to exponentially increase. We don't have any figures for the Isle of Man at the moment, but we spoke to one of the dementia nurses at Hospice, and she said approximately around 1,400 people are diagnosed on the Isle of Man with dementia, and she's expecting this to increase as well. So not only does it affect your mind, but it also affects your quality of life. Post-diagnosis, a lot of the care for people with dementia occurs at home, which puts a lot of strain on families and loved ones. And there's a growing need for a home support for people with dementia, which is what we are hoping to look at. So the Memory Game application, like I said before, is being developed by Memory Lane Games, local company. It was actually, the idea was thought of in a local pub over here, and over the past few years they've been building this digital health app. It's aimed at people with mild to moderate dementia, and it's initially had some positive feedback, and they now want to get it robustly tested through a clinical trial, which is what we're performing. It's a simple game. You identify pictures. It's like a multiple choice game, and it can be personalised with your own photos and questions. So this is the standard app. This is the homepage you have. You've just got a list of different games you can click on, and then once you pick one, so like the cats and dogs one, it comes up with 4 different options, and you click on whichever one you think is the answer. If it's wrong, the answer just slides away. It doesn't come up with a big red cross mark or anything. And if you get it right, it comes up with a nice green tick. And then this is the personalised app. So if you go into creating your own games, it comes up and you can put your own photo up, so you can have a photo of your family, or say your hometown, anything like that. And you can select the face, so the question is maybe who's in this photo. And then you pop in your question, and then you have 1 correct answer and then 3 wrong ones. And then you have a game that looks just like the standard games, but it's all personalised to you. So, why are we using this digital tool? We're hoping that tapping into memories could prompt discussion, improve communication between families and the person with dementia. We are hoping that photographs can trigger memories of places and people. It's generally just to try and get people less isolated, especially during COVID. People with dementia were kind of left alone, and families were stressed. So it's just trying to improve communication, improve quality of life. The generic app has photo-based games, but they're not specific to the individual. And the personalised app, like I said before, allows you to put in your own personal photos. So the simple nature of the game is what is really enticing. There's no score, you don't get any red marks or anything, it's just supposed to be a bit of fun. So the concept of the clinical trial, we're trying to examine if there's any impact on quality of life and communication. And we want to, so this is a pilot study, and we want to see if any of these positive effects, if it can help design a bigger trial, maybe over in the UK or on the Isle of Man. And our primary question is the use of a personalised app associated with changes of quality of life of the person with dementia and or their carer? And then other things that we're looking at, we're trying to see if there's any unanticipated effects, or other study instruments that we're using feasible. So are the assessments that we're using feasible? Going to people's houses, is that something that can be used? So the study design, it's a single site study, which means it's just happening on the Isle of Man. It's not happening anywhere else in the UK at the moment. It's randomised, so we have a control and an intervention. So the control is people using the standard app, and the intervention are people using the personalised app, and then we compare the results from those 2 groups. So we've got 30 pairs, comprise of, well, we were hoping to get 30 pairs of comprising of the person with dementia and their informal carer. So when we say informal, we're looking for people who are in informal care, and it's usually, it could be a friend, loved one, husband, wife, family member, anything like that. And we're also looking for people 65 and over. This was because anyone 65 and under is classed as early onset dementia, and that presents very differently, comes with a whole range of different psychological issues. And it's a pilot study, so we wanted to try and keep it to 65 and over. And we were hoping for a 2-to-1 ratio split of pairs between intervention and control groups. Like I said before, intervention group is getting the personalised app, control group is getting the standard app. And then we're comparing those two. So the timeline of the study is 26 weeks for each participant. There's 3 data collection points, baseline at 13 weeks and at 26 weeks. We are doing 2 dementia assessments, so clinical dementia rating and this is a tongue twister, SMMSE. We're doing 2 quality of life assessments that look at the carer and the person with dementia as well. And we also do a communication assessment to look at how the person with dementia is communicating with others, how they're communicating with their loved ones, that kind of thing. Other data we're collecting throughout the study is some app usage activity, so how often they're on it, that kind of thing. And also some semi-structured interviews, so we're asking them how they're feeling, do they like it, are they having trouble with it, is using an iPad okay, all that kind of stuff. So, to perform the study, we need to recruit people, and this was our recruitment plan. We wanted to, like I said before, formally diagnosed by the memory clinic. We're looking for volunteers, so they need to come to us first after we've advertised, and we need 30 pairs. We publicise this through social media, Facebook, Instagram, media, local newspapers, banners, posters. We put it up all around shops, community groups, all that kind of thing. We had online news reports. BBC and ITV had the study advertised. It was on the radio. We went to dementia support groups like the DCAFs over here, and we also contacted dementia-related non-government organisations as well. So this is how people actually got in touch. This is how successful our advertising was. So Facebook, you can see down here, 37% of the people who contacted us found out and contacted us from Facebook. 43,000 people viewed the advert from Facebook, and 3,000 people actually interacted with it. So that's people who clicked on the ad, had a look at how to sign up, that kind of thing. The non-digital marketing reach wasn't as high as we thought it was going to be. We actually don't have a baseline to compare it to, so we're not sure if this is normal or this is something different that's new. But maybe it could be reduced because of lockdown, so our advertisement and recruitment phase happened over the end of 2021 to the beginning of 2022, so it's kind of during COVID increases and lockdowns. So maybe that had an effect. We're not sure. People maybe not getting out into shops because they're isolating, so didn't see any of the posters and that kind of thing. But that is how people got into contact with us. And I'm going to take you through a Sankey chart, and I'm just going to show you, of the people who contacted us, where they all ended up. So 55 people contacted us in total. Of those 55 who first contacted us, 15 people we had no response from. So that's either they contacted us in the first instance and then we never heard from them again, or we had multiple conversations with them on email, on the phone, and then we just also lost contact with them. 40 people did respond. 8 of those declined. That was for various reasons. A few were because of carer stress. It was because we have 3 different visits at 3 different time points, which are about an hour to 2 hours. Some people thought that was a bit too much time. We had a few people who looked at the app and the person with dementia actually found it quite stressful to use. So that was another thing. 16 people failed pre-screening. So pre-screening was me and the clinical research nurse, Rachel. We rang people and made sure they all fit in with our criteria. So 16 people didn't. 3 were under 65, 2 were not actually on the Isle of Man, they were just really keen to help. 1 person unfortunately didn't have any Wi-Fi, but 10 people didn't have any formal diagnosis of dementia. The GP knew they had dementia, but that's not a formal diagnosis. People need to go to a memory clinic to get diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of thing. And unfortunately we needed a formal diagnosis, so we couldn't accept them onto the study. 16 people did pass pre-screening, and then they get screened, so that's me and Rachel going to the house and filling out consent forms and going through all the dementia assessments and everything. 4 of those people failed the screening process. So one person wasn't fluent enough in English, and unfortunately we did not speak enough Spanish to be able to have them on study. One person was unable to consent, and 2 people, one of the dementia assessments, one was too low and one was too high. So 12 people actually got on the study, which we're doing at the moment, and 4 of those are in the control group and 8 are in the intervention. So that's where everyone ended up. Overall recruitment, so we had a very high rate of ineligible people and a high percentage of no responses. If we take this little section and break it down, you can see that a huge amount of people didn't get on because they had no diagnosis, which is such a shame. We're looking at people who are mild to moderate, and the diagnosis process can take such a long time. In the UK, if we take UK statistics, it can take up to 12 weeks to 12 months. The 12 weeks is usually people who are moderate to more severe, but people mild to moderate, it can take a year to get diagnosed formally with dementia. So people are kind of stuck in limbo. They know they've got it and they want to be part of research, they want to get prescriptions to help, but there's nothing they can do. So maybe this also, I mean, it does happen at the man, but we don't have any specific stats for it. And potentially COVID could have slowed it down. Like I said, in the UK, there was patterns of COVID slowing down the diagnosis rate of dementia, so it could have happened on the Isle of Man as well. And we had a very high no response rate as well. So we did try and contact people again, asking them to get back to us, asking them why they didn't want to be involved. No one did, unfortunately. So we don't actually know why they didn't get back to us. It could be that the study wasn't what they thought it was. It could be that the person with dementia contacted us and they forgot, and then it was just lost, the emails were lost. Again, did COVID have an impact? So that's something I really wanted to look at. So I grabbed all the COVID data, and we did it from November to May, so that's the start of our advertisement and then the end of our recruitment there. Up here is the number of COVID cases, which is shown by the blue line, and over there is the number of new contacts we had every week, so number of people that got in touch with us wanting to know more or wanting to take part. And that is shown in the red line. And as you can see, so there was a big leap in contacts when we first started advertising. We had a Christmas dip. And then if you looked, COVID increased massively after Christmas. But if you look at the other dips and rises, you can see that when COVID cases are decreasing, there are more people contacting us, and as soon as COVID increases, less people are contacting us. So it could be that the increase in COVID is scaring people off, and it's very understandable. Vulnerable population, they don't want people coming into the house, so they need to isolate and bubble. So COVID could have had an effect on our recruitment. Another thing that we could look at is we have a research-made population. So this is the second fully local clinical trial to ever happen on the Isle of Man, which is super exciting. But it also means that a lot of people might not know what a clinical trial involves, what it means to be part of a clinical research trial. And there's a lot of studies being done on this in the UK, and a big thing is the sentiment that people don't want to be a guinea pig. And it's actually a common response when people are offered to take part in clinical trials. It's a kind of a result of misunderstanding and lack of awareness around what clinical trials involve. We actually did lose a potential participant because they said this exact phrase. They said they didn't want to be, the person with dementia said they didn't want to be a guinea pig, and the carer wanted to take part. So there is some notion of that the Isle of Man is a bit, we don't have many clinical trials happening, so some people don't know what it involves. And this can lead to miscommunication, which is really important. So the media wording really matters, especially when we're talking about dementia. It's important not to use really negative language when you're trying to get people, or even when you're just trying to talk about it. And these are 2 articles that were released, local articles, when we were advertising for the clinical trial. And they both used the word suffering, which we asked them not to. But it might give out negative connotations and de-incentivize people to get involved. They might want to get in touch just because it gives the wrong idea of what's going on. there's a really, really interesting, I don't know if anyone here's heard of Wendy Mitchell, but she's an amazing researcher. She actually has dementia herself, and she's a big advocate for people with dementia getting involved in research, and she's written amazing books. If you're interested in it, I would seriously recommend reading her stuff. And there's an article that she's done, and she did a focus group, and it's all about trying to get people more involved in dementia research. And when she asked them, would you like to be involved in research, maybe 2 or 3 people put their hands up, but she then changed the wording to, would you like to be involved in changing how dementia looks like in the future? Every single one of them put their hands up. So the way you word everything around clinical trials is so important to try and get people more excited, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to just improve what dementia looks like in 20 years' time. So I've been talking your ear off about how we need to try and support research, but why is it important? So healthcare is driven by evidence-based research, and new knowledge and solutions begins with questions, and everything that we use in healthcare at the moment has, well, not everything, but most things have been through a clinical trial, any drugs, anything like that. Dementia research is super important. Like I said right at the beginning, we are, in 20, 50 years' time, we have a massive aging population, and dementia is going to be so prevalent, and it's so important that we have solutions, not only to support severe dementia, but also mild to moderate dementia, and people living with it for years and years with no support at home. It's so important that we have some kind of strategy put in place. So how can we improve as a population? I think trying to encourage collaboration with other organisations is so important, and other services as well. So we got in contact with 7 different dementia-related organisations, and only 2 replied to us when we were trying to get people involved. Our lovely Professor Sarah went out to loads of different community groups and spoke to people. Everyone was really excited, but it kind of never went anywhere. Setting up a research register on the Isle of Man would be amazing. As far as I know, there isn't one. And in the UK, you can sign up on the NHS. Just put your contact details down and say, I'm interested in taking part, and then people will contact you. So many of the people that we didn't have any diagnosis or didn't get on were people that were so excited and wanted to help, but there was no pathway for them. People had to take their own initiative, and we should be making it easy for them. And research festivals, it's so great that this is happening, and we need to talk about research, and we need to talk about what it involves, and we're all super important in changing everyone's views on what clinical trials are like. We're not scary, white-coated scientists coming in and asking you lots of complicated questions. It's, hopefully it's a bit nicer than that. I'm aware of the time.
Yeah, I think we started 10 minutes late.
Yeah, sorry. Quick summary. We think our main challenges are that people don't know what's involved in a clinical trial on the Isle of Man. And COVID-19 was a big issue as well. I mean, this is all happening during lockdowns. Oh, here's the team, hospice and MLG. And I think our main learning points, collaboration between different organisations is so important. We're all trying to reach the same goal, so we should all be working together to try and reach there. It's really difficult to get involved in research, and having a research registry I think would really, really help. We need to have something that if people want to take proactive steps, we need to make it easy for people to be able to get involved in research. And if there's clinical trials happening in the future, we can set a nice robust framework for that to happen in the future. Making it accessible, also the power of media I think was a big learning point for us. It's a double-edged sword. It's amazing because it can reach so many people, but we had absolutely no control over the message that was being sent out. So if more people know and understand dementia and clinical trials, hopefully we can influence the wording that's being used. And raising research awareness is really important. So research festivals like this are amazing. Thank you for letting me talk. And yeah, thank you so much. Any questions?